Ladies and gentlemen, when I said Bernie Sanders was the front runner in 2016, I was right. Everyone else was wrong. When I said that he could have defeated President Trump in 2016, he was the front runner. He was running against a person who committed numerous crimes. I was right. Everyone else was wrong. NPR quoted me regarding Clinton losing to Trump. I said Clinton would lose to Trump. I said she would lose swing states to Trump. She did. The NPR article is below. Now I'm telling everyone the following. I am telling everyone that Bernie Sanders is going to lose to Trump in 2020. He would have defeated Trump in 2016 because you had populist message from Bernie, populist message from Trump. Nobody knew which populist message would work. Now you have record low unemployment, record low Black and Latino unemployment, 6 million jobs created in 3 years compared to 8.9 million with President Obama. So President Obama had 8.9 million jobs created in 8 years. President Trump already has 6 million jobs created in 3 years. He's on pace to shatter the previous administration's job creation numbers. Household median income is up. Wages are rising. You look at the economy, there's no debate. Even Paul Krugman is saying the economy is good after he predicted a global recession. Okay? So Bernie's populist message is not going to work, especially when Democrats have not passed Medicare for all. They only impeached Trump. That's the only thing they care about. The only thing you know about the Democratic House is that they impeached Trump. And they didn't care if the Senate removed him or not. They were going to impeach him. They knew it was futile. They knew they had no chance, but they still passed the articles of impeachment. Now, when you ask Democrats, you say, well, why didn't you pass a Medicare for all bill? Why didn't you pass a Green New Deal legislation? I thought climate change was so important. Why haven't you passed some amazing legislation to abolish student debt? I thought you were going to abolish ICE. What happened to all of these things? What happened? Well, what takes place is the following. They talk and talk and talk, and then now Bernie Sanders is the front runner because they have nobody else. Bernie has an actual base of support. It's true. He has a very strong, passionate base of support. But it doesn't cross over like it did in 2016. Tulsi Gabbard of 2020 is basically Bernie Sanders of 2016. That should tell you what's going on with the Democratic Party. They called Tulsi Gabbard a Russian operative, and they're saying that Russia is going to help Bernie. But speaking of Russia and speaking of communism and socialism, Florida Dems in uproar after Sanders' Cuba comments. Now, he just lost Cuba. Well, maybe he's running in Cuba. He just lost Florida. Quote, Donald Trump wins Florida if Bernie is our nominee. If you have any chance at defeating Trump, which they won't, they have to win Florida. They have to win Florida's 29 Electoral College votes. If they don't win Florida, then they have absolutely no chance. Okay? If they don't win Florida, they have absolutely no chance. Now, I'm going to read you this. Bernie Sanders says he's a Democrat best equipped to defeat Donald Trump in November. This is Politico. But Florida Democrats insist he's the worst equipped after Sanders' refusal Sunday night to thoroughly condemn the Cuban Revolution. So, Bernie Sanders is hilarious. He knows that Trump was set up and framed, but he went along with the whole Russia myth and the hoax, and he perpetuated the bogus nonsense from corrupt intelligence officials as Russia was trying to interfere in our election by showing us that Bernie Sanders was cheated. They say well, first of all, Hillary Clinton is going to be nominee. She's going to be nominee. Okay? It's not going to be Bernie or anyone else. They haven't even begun to. They can start an investigation, heaven forbid. I don't want them to, but Democrats can push an investigation. That's what even Trump was saying. Are you going to investigate Bernie Sanders for his ties to Russia? They're already saying that Russia is helping Bernie. Russia's not helping Bernie. They never even helped Trump. How can you say that Clinton won the primary fair and square, but then the DNC emails were an example of Russian interference? Are you saying that the DNC emails were so despicable that they showed massive widespread corruption that cheated Bernie Sanders? Or are you saying that the DNC emails had no effect on the election because everything was fair? Then they say, well, Facebook ads. Okay, which ones? Which Facebook ads had the most effect? How many votes were altered? They can't say because the ODNI and DHS reports come with warranty disclaimers. But Bernie voters, Bernie himself, the left, utilized this against Trump. Now they're going to utilize it against Bernie Sanders. But here, it's not just the issue. Kathy, thank you so very much. Have a fantastic day. Thank you for the kind words, Kathy. Thank you. It's not just the issue of whether or not Bernie Sanders can win. He would get utterly obliterated by Trump. He would have defeated Trump in 2016. Okay? He would have defeated Trump in 2016. He would get obliterated by Trump in 2020 because Trump's populist message has worked. Bernie's hasn't even passed a democratically controlled House. So, but here. Okay, so let me read you this. But Florida Democrats insist he's the worst equipped after Sanders' refusal Sunday night to thoroughly condemn the Cuban Revolution. His comments on 60 Minutes sent shockwaves through the nation's biggest battleground state, where Democratic members of Congress, state legislators, and party leaders warned that his nomination and Sanders' self-described democratic socialism will cost them the biggest battleground state of them all. Donald Trump wins Florida if Bernie is our nominee, said State Representative Javier Fernandez, a Democratic candidate in a majority Hispanic state Senate district. If Bernie Sanders is atop the ticket, it's going to make it tougher for all of us to win Florida, said Fernandez, who has endorsed Sanders' rival, Joe Biden. No one really sees Sanders winning Florida, and I don't think his campaign does either. As a state with an influential cross-section of Latinos whose families fled leftist Latin American regimes and violence, Sanders' embrace of far-left leaders and his past refusal to wholeheartedly condemn Latin American strongmen and Soviet Union have long been seen as fatal flaws. Now, if you're wondering, oh my God, this is such propaganda, oh my God, you look at the way they treated Trump. He said both sides. He said both sides. No, he didn't. He never said the Tiki Torch people were good people. He never meant that. The context wasn't there. It was a complete fabrication of the left, but Bernie went along with it. There was no Russian interference, but Trump didn't invite. He didn't enable. They wanted him to tackle Putin in Helsinki, but he went along with it. MSM poll, Comrade Sanders flips House to GOP. Yeah, Dory, the Hobbit. Thank you, Dory. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to allow Bernie Sanders to win, even if he was a good. He's not a good candidate this year. He was in 2016 because socialism wasn't. They tried to make him a socialist. Ezra Klein of Vox interviewed Bernie Sanders. You can watch the interview. It was in 2016, and then Ezra Klein's like, "Oh, you're a socialist, right?" He's like, "Democratic socialist, not socialist." He tried to distance himself from the label. He never talked about democratic socialism, ever. Now that's all you hear. But it's not, okay, Bernie fills stadiums, Trump fills stadiums. The difference is that Trump fills stadiums, and he also has a widespread base throughout the country. Bernie fills stadiums, and he does not, outside the stadium, not everybody is enamored with Bernie Sanders. He doesn't have the base of support, not even in the Democratic Party. The AFL-CIO is against the Green New Deal. Hello? The AFL-CIO is against the Green New Deal. And polls show when Medicare for All costs people money, when their taxes go up, they don't want it. And then you have fracking that's not banning fracking isn't popular in swing states. So, we can go on forever. The issue here is that Democrats are 4 years too late. They're 4 years too late. Haha, Rusty. Hello. Hillary Clinton is just waiting in the wings, but here, Sanders on Sunday did nothing to allay those concerns in a 60 Minutes interview in which he was asked about his 1985 comments, stating the Cuban people didn't, quote, rise up in rebellion against Fidel Castro because he, quote, educated their kids, gave their kids health care, totally transformed society. Well, another reason is that, revolutions aren't easy, and Castro had the military to quell any revolution. That's one reason. But if Bernie Sanders is atop the ticket, it's going to make it tougher for all of us to win in Florida. You cannot say good things about Fidel Castro and expect to win Florida. It doesn't work that way. Okay, you can't do that. There were no mention of firing squads, political purges, and mass arrests that accompanied the 1959 revolution. We're very opposed to the authoritarian nature of Cuba, but it's unfair to simply say everything's bad, Sanders said Sunday when asked about the remarks. When Fidel Castro came into office, you know what he did? He had a massive literacy program. Is that a bad thing? Even though Fidel Castro did it? Well, is it okay, then why don't you say, if Putin denied any interference, does that mean he interfered still? Okay, Bernie doesn't use the logic when it doesn't suit him. But even, it's kind of funny because this doesn't suit him either. Look, it actually really isn't that big of an issue what he said, okay? Because he was speaking in a more nuanced perspective. It is a big issue when you try to mitigate the atrocities that Fidel Castro committed or that he presided over. But if he's just saying it like, well, actually, it politically it's horrendous. They're going to obviously use that against him. Is Bernie saying, oh, well, I back the authoritarian nature of the government? No, he's not. But this is a much closer example to both sides are fine people than anything that Trump ever said. Trump condemned the Tiki Torch people a million times. It was never good enough. Bernie never condemned Castro. So, you can go back and forth. If you live by this manipulation of semantics and propaganda and media hysteria, you live by that to go after Trump, and you lie and you deceive people to try to twist and mangle and redefine what Trump actually said, then don't be surprised, even if Bernie didn't, sign off on all the horrible things Castro did. Don't be surprised if they try to use that kind of logic against Bernie Sanders. And don't be surprised when they say that he actually did work with Russia, that they need to investigate Bernie Sanders. And they will eat that up. Do you understand? They haven't even begun to dismantle and cheat Bernie Sanders. They're cheating him all over again. Do you remember when Biden was the front runner? Yeah, I told you Biden wasn't the front runner. Didn't I tell you that? Okay, I told you Biden's the front runner. I told you that. I told you. So, if you look, right, let me just read this. So, Sanders' campaign dismisses concerns about socialism as modern-day red baiting, which is what you did to Trump, isn't it? And points to polling. However, that shows he's essentially tied with Trump in Florida. just like other Democrats like Biden. Yeah, but the thing is, the polling is good right now for Bernie Sanders because Democrats haven't converged on him, and neither has Trump. Trump would eat Bernie and spit him out. Easier than Democrats because Democrats are caught between a rock and a hard place. They've cheated Bernie Sanders. He's central to the whole Russia myth. They're going to use that myth against him. They're totally being dismantled and dissolving and being obliterated in real time. Democrats cheated Bernie. They then used Bernie to foment the same myth that said that he wasn't cheated. It was Russia that cheated him, not Democrats. Now they're going to use that against him, and now they're slowly, like a boa constrictor, wrapping their insidious, nefarious, just their media spin is being wrapped around Bernie Sanders slowly but surely. Then now they want his medical records. They want to know exactly how much his heart is pumping. They want the percentage of blood being pumped out of his of the ventricles of his heart. Do you understand? They haven't even begun. And when Hillary Clinton said today she would support Bernie Sanders, that's a bad sign. Oh my God, that's a bad sign. That's like when a tsunami is about to take place and the water actually goes out into the sea. And like, oh, this is weird. Uh-oh. Yeah, you should probably run when that happens. But that could change under the kind of sustained assault that Trump's campaign is waiting to unleash once he becomes the nominee. Florida is a must-win state for Trump. Well, it's a must-win state for everybody. And it's easier for him to defend the Sunshine State. He'll be able to play offense in the Rust Belt states, and Democrats unexpectedly lost to him in 2016. Okay, the Rust Belt states, if you look, Dark Side Harley Girl, Breadline Bernie is a wackadoodle. Yes, Dark Side Harley Girl. Hello, thank you so very much. He has become definitely a wackadoodle, and the broad support for Bernie Sanders, the broad support. In 2016, Bernie had support. He did have support among conservatives or Republicans. Now he does not, because he spent 3 years basically spreading lies about Trump. Thank you, Dark Side Harley Girl. Greatly appreciated. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much. If you look, as a swing state, Florida is traditionally more moderate than Sanders' brand of progressivism. No major party candidate nominee. So Andrew Gillum did not win. Okay, he lost to a Republican. Andrew Gillum, when asked about Medicare for All, said, well, it's not feasible in Florida, but it would only work if other states joined on. Why doesn't Vermont have Medicare for All? That's an important question. Vermont doesn't even have Medicare for All. So you have these pundits who This is the Washington Post, why Vermont's single-payer effort failed and what Democrats can learn from it. It didn't even work in Vermont. It did not even work in Vermont. Okay? Now, look, we can go on forever. Medicare for All does not ensure the notion that 320 million people are going to be covered by government health care. Number one, you're not insured, or you're not guaranteed that you're going to have the same level of health care that you do now. Okay, you want it either equal or better. If you talk to people who have Medicare, there's a whole bunch of issues, and that's only for about 40 to 60 million people with Medicare and other government-run healthcare services. Then you have what? Over a quarter of the budget is healthcare, government healthcare. So what are you going to do? You want Medicare for all, but that's $30 trillion in 10 years. Okay, but then you want also a Green New Deal. Well, AOC said that's about 10 trillion in 10 years or 5 years. I forgot what it was, but then they say it was 100 trillion. But then the AFL-CIO is against it. So, you have this situation where you have this situation where it's good on Twitter. Like Bernie, okay, I'm not going to get into the issue. I know exactly why Bernie's movement has become a bowel movement. I'm not going to get into it. But when he finally gets cheated, I'm going to do a segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel. And I'll get into it. Okay? Respectfully. Okay? I wrote an article about this in the Huffington Post. Okay? When I was talking about Bernie Sanders, the only way he would have won is to adopt my philosophy, which was you draw a clear line of demarcation between you and Clinton. And you don't say, I have enough of our emails. You bring up the emails. You bring up the fact you were cheated. You say that your voters will not vote unless you pass a Medicare for All bill. Okay? And you use leverage, political leverage. But Bernie Sanders, he played right into them. With Bernie Sanders, he's thinking that, well, he might win South Carolina. He might do well on Super Tuesday. It's going to be irrelevant because they're going to begin an investigation of Bernie Sanders, God forbid, almost certainly. If not that, they'll smear him and spread, fake news about him, just like they did with Trump. But the problem is Bernie Sanders never stood up for Trump. So, there you go. There you go. There you go. Let me read you this. Okay. Florida doesn't have just a single Latino community, has immigrants and exiles from multiple Latin American countries where socialism is a loaded term. When Sanders says he wants to lead a revolution, it sounds like revolution to many in South Florida who fled Castro and other leftist regimes. Sanders supporters have earned a nickname Sandinistas, a play on Sandinistas. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Socialist guerrillas who overthrew Somoza dictatorship in Nicaragua. Okay. Sanders has a long history of making favorable comments about Cuba, remarks that have salience beyond the Cuban-American community, which is clustered in Miami. Venezuelan exiles, whose country descended into poverty under Havana-backed Nicolas Maduro, have increasingly found common cause with anti-communist Cubans. Venezuelans in Miami were outraged when Sanders last year initially refused to call Maduro a dictator. Nicaragua, you get this whole thing where it's like Bernie's going to get crushed, absolutely crushed, not just with his own words, because they'll twist his own words, but you just look at You look at Florida. You look at his policies. His policies haven't passed the House of Representatives because Democrats don't want them. You look at his statements on Castro. He just lost Florida. You look at the fact he doesn't have Tulsi Gabbard has crossover appeal, just like Bernie Sanders in 2016. But Bernie Sanders has spent 3 years spreading the most conniving, deceitful nonsense about Russia and Trump, which wasn't ever true, and they're going to use it against Bernie. They don't have, right now, Democrats don't have anybody who can stop Bernie Sanders, because he actually has a campaign. You can disagree with his policies. His policies are not feasible. We know this because Democrats don't even want them. When I was on the left, a lot of the policies sounded great. I didn't care about the feasibility. If you're on the left, you don't care about the feasibility because you feel less moral, or you feel like, you're just giving up on this moral thing. But then if you're, presented with a study like the Mercatus study, there's no way out of it. Or whatever. Let's just say the Mercatus study is wrong. The fact that Democrats don't even pass it shows that they don't want it. The fact that it doesn't even work in Vermont or any state, that shows it's not feasible. But let's say it was feasible. You have 30 trillion. Then you have, 10, by one estimate, 100 trillion. Who knows how many jobs would be lost immediately. The AFL-CIO is against the Green New Deal. And it's a resolution, not legislation. And when they were forced to vote on it, Democrats viewed it as an insult. 4 Democrats voted against it in the Senate. And all the Democrats voted present. So they didn't have the audacity to oppose it, which would be hilarious. Which would be absolutely hilarious. Yes. Eric H526, that's the article. Exactly. I learned the hard way, ladies and gentlemen, that they are not serious. They're not, look, when push comes to shove, the average Bernie voter will do what Bernie says. Bernie is going to say vote for Clinton. Hillary Clinton today, when she said, I will support Bernie Sanders, you might as well be hearing storm clouds gathering, okay? Let's just, Hillary Clinton, oh my God. Hillary Clinton may not be a fan, but she is prepared to vote for Bernie Sanders. No, she's not. She will be the nominee. Do you want to know how we know? Because she was on record as saying she knows who the nominee will be. This was at the Deal Book conference. Okay? This is going to be a very, very important segment. You go to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I'm the only person on YouTube to actually pick up on this. Go to H.A. Goodman's other channel. Go to, so videos. I'll play it for you. You can hear it. Hold on one second. Okay, hold on. Audio. Okay. It's right here. Hillary Clinton, it's audio. Clinton literally admits that only Hillary Clinton will become the Democratic nominee. Now, Bernie Sanders is the front runner. Okay? Bernie Sanders is the front runner, right? I just go ahead and let's just listen to this really quickly, okay? Bernie Sanders right now is the front runner. Joe Biden was. Hillary Clinton's the front runner, and I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. Just look, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, well, you don't have to look, but here, hold on one second. Clinton says she'll vote for Bernie Sanders today. Do you believe that? Okay, you shouldn't, because it's, of course, a bunch of nonsense. I'm going to give you exactly why this is nonsense. This will actually be a very important segment in the long run. Now, here's me. I'm just playing audio of myself, but you will hear Madam Secretary in a moment. So you'll hear me, but hold on one second.
Here, this is... Will you support whoever the candidate is in the Democratic side? Yeah, sure, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, I can't stand that noise. I can't stand that noise.
Will you support whoever...
Look at just the... Okay, so she's asked, will you support whoever the Democratic candidate is? This was the Deal Book conference with whatever, one of their Democratic Party's liberal conferences they had about 2 months ago. In November, so like 3 months ago. Okay. 4 months ago, whatever. This was the guy who set up the conference asked her. Okay? Okay, listen to what she says.
disingenuous. Yeah. Will you Bloomberg? Because I think I know. Disingenuous. Because I think I know who they're likely to be. Who do you think it's going to be? I'm not going to. Be the nominee. Now, eventually she does tell the truth. Here. Because I think I know who they're likely to be. Who do you think it's going to be? I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there.
You know, so she's referring to Bernie. She's saying that she knows that Bernie Sanders is likely to be the nominee. Think! Peter Bills! It's the Green New Deal, Hannity. But it throws it back in their face. Makes it sound capitalistic. America will not be a socialist country. Donald J. Trump. Yes. Peter Bills. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Yes. Agent Pepsi. Very true. Very true. Agent Pepsi, thank you. Who will be the nominee? Peter, thank you so very much. Peter, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually listening to myself, listening to Madam Secretary speaking on H.A. Goodman's other channel. But here, Greg Landry, my favorite phrase, Madam Cyberhack, Golden Moo. Thank you for your hard work, Greg. Thank you, Greg Landry. Thank you so very much, Greg. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Peter. Thank you both. So this is a segment that I did, but check this out, okay? You're listening to Clinton saying she knows who the nominee will be. So,
truth. Here. Because I think I know who they're likely to be. Who do you think it's going to be? I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Now, look, I think that...
She's not going to go there. Why not? Why wouldn't she go there? You see where I'm getting at? You see what I'm getting at? She's was asked in November, will you support the nominee? Then she says, I will because I think I know who it's going to be. That was when Biden was the nominee. Do you think she meant Biden? No. Now Bernie's the front runner. Do you think she meant Bernie? No. Do you think perhaps she meant herself? Could you imagine ever Hillary Clinton knocking on doors for Bernie Sanders? Do you think that will ever happen? All right, check it out. No.
This person...
All right, so hold on. I'm trying to find... All right, so... Because I can't actually find the... Wait, is there... Where's the audio clip? Oh, where's the audio clip? There was an audio clip on here. Or on Twitter one of these days. Here, or one of these times. So here, listen to this. Check this out. So check it out.
Country. It's a networking function anyway, doesn't it? Look, here, check this out again. Will you support whoever the candidate is in the Democratic side? Yeah, sure,
100%. Yeah, sure. And then you get like the people desperate to make Clinton like a normal, regular person. Like, she said she would support Bernie. She's not going to support Bernie. You'd give a better chance of putting wolves in a hen house and see what happens. She's supporting Bernie, and she didn't think that Bernie was the front runner when this was being when she was speaking. She's being asked during the Dealbrook conference, Dealbrook, whatever. Okay, hold on. It was the New York Times journalist. Okay, Dealbrook conference. Andrew Ross She's asked by Andrew Ross. So she's asked by Andrew Ross, will you support the nominee? Then she says, yeah, no, what's up, yeah. And she knows it's going to be her. That's why she's being coy. Okay, this is like another kind of like conniving attempt at deception.
The candidates in the Democratic side? Yeah, sure, 100%. Yeah. I know who they're likely to be. Who are they? It's you, Madam Secretary.
So, why did I interrupt?
We know. Who do you think it's going to be? I'm not going to go there.
Why can't she say who she thinks the nominee is likely to be? Of course she can't. She can't say who she thinks the nominee will be. She knows you don't think they have contingency plans as to what would happen if Bernie won South Carolina? You don't think if Bernie does well on Super Tuesday, you don't think they have a million things they're going to do? You think that they just watch? You think that the Clinton machine watches politics on MSNBC and CNN the way the average Democrat does? You think they listen to the pundits that Bernie can't even endorse? You think that's how they run things? No. They're doing things, ladies and gentlemen, in the most despicable, underhanded manner. They know what's going on. Clinton is already on record as saying she wouldn't support Bernie Sanders. President Obama is on record as saying he wouldn't support Bernie Sanders and that he would interfere to prevent Bernie Sanders. So, look, the whole thing is a bunch of nonsense. It's just a bunch of nonsense. They're going to stop Bernie Sanders again. They are definitely going to stop Bernie Sanders again. And this time, I mean, it's going to be real bad. So he already lost the most populous areas in Florida, or one of the most popular, Miami, with his comments. Excuse me. If you're tied with Trump in the polls now, you're not going to be tied with Trump. You have to be up above Trump like 10 points, and then still Trump will win by 3. So this is Politico. Florida Dems in uproar after Sanders' Cuba comments. He lost Florida just with his Fidel Castro comments. Okay. Look, she's already on record as saying this. So here.
What do you think it's going to be? I'm not going to go there. Now, look, I think that we have to measure the risk to the country. And
what risk? Record low unemployment. First Step Act. First president to step foot in North Korea. Oh, what risk? Oh, the risk.
So then she goes on.
Okay, so look, at the end of the day, Democrats are playing chess. Bernie's playing checkers, but Democrats aren't even playing chess. They're they're not going to they're not going to allow Bernie to win. That's it. They're not gonna. It ain't gonna happen. They're not going to allow Bernie to win. No. I was never, ever a socialist, and I never, ever, ever, I never tried to, promote that. My whole thing was that Bernie, in 2016, I didn't like Bernie because of socialism. I liked Bernie Sanders because I felt that he was a much better option than he was a much better option than Clinton, a million times, infinitely better option. So I'm trying to look trying to look here. If you type in, type in Bernie Sanders. Okay. Let's see. Bernie Sanders. It's not just that. He's doing a whole bunch of things that just aren't. We can go on forever. Ladies and gentlemen, Daily Beast is after him. There's like 10, 20 different ways that Democrats are going to try to cheat him, using, by the way, the same dirty, underhanded, shady tactics that he used against Trump. So, Pilgrim Driver, Bernie is part of the plot. Do they have him? Yeah, I think so. I think so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am running out of steam right now for some reason. Give me your thoughts below. I'll be back later this evening, ladies and gentlemen. And be here like around 10 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. 10:30. And we will have an awesome live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. Ronald Foose, thank you. Thank you, everybody. God bless. And I will see you soon.